Robinson here. Today we're going to show you how to use a D-lead, one of the EPA approved test kits for checking for the presence of lead-based paint. This is for the EPA RRP program, where homes built before 1978 and child-occupied facilities built before 1978 have to be worked in as if there was lead paint there unless there's some sort of a test done. There's a couple of ways to do the test. You can bring in a certified third party and you can pay them and they'll come in and do testing with either an X-ray fluorescent machine or some other paint chip analysis techniques. There are a couple of methods that certified renovators can use as well. The one we're going to talk about today is called D-lead. It's just been recently approved by EPA, and one of the good things about it is that it looks like it's getting to be pretty available on the shelves at the big box stores. And in addition to being able to check for lead paint on wood, you can check to see if there's lead paint in sheetrock, drywall, plaster, stucco, and also on some metal surfaces. So let's open up the box. First of all, you get a little bottle here. This is your sample bottle. You also get solution bottle 2. What happens is you take your lead samples, you put them in here, and then you add some drops of this, you shake it up, and it'll change a certain color based on this right here, on this little color indicator. So that'll tell you if it crosses the threshold for EPA's requirements for lead in paint. In addition to these 2 bottles, you have a sampling tube. Now this tube is important. It needs to be kept clean between every sampling. What it is it has a little hole in the end of it, and that's where you take your paint sample. You push that up against the material or the surface that's going to be sampled, and you pull off all the layers of paint. Once you've taken the sample with the tube here, you put that in this bottle here, shake it up, and then you add 5 drops of this one, and then within 3 to 13 minutes you're going to have a sample that'll tell you whether you've crossed the EPA's threshold for lead in paint. In addition to that, there's a little bit of a razor blade holder here so that you can cut up the paint sample so it'll be in smaller pieces. There's a little cleaning tube for pushing and cleaning out your sample tube. There are some D-wipes. These seem to be just wet wipes that you can use to clean things up with so that you're not contaminating a new sample with some old material. And there is a little card here that's used to collect the samples in. So let's go ahead and take a look and see if we can find out if there's lead paint in this old door here. First step is to clean the sampling tools. So I'll take my D-wipe, take it out of the bag. Looks very much like one of those little things you get at the barbecue rib place when you're eating barbecue ribs. I'm going to take this and I'm going to push it into my sampling tube. I'm going to clean the outside of the tube. Wrap this around my little ramrod, push it in, so I've cleaned that up, and lay that down. Also what I'm going to do is clean my razor blade so I don't have any residue there. Now I'm ready to take a paint sample. Notice I'm going to wear my rubber gloves here, nitrile gloves, to protect my hands in case I get into any lead paint. D-lead provides you with these little sample tags with adhesive on the back to collect your samples with. We're going to take our sample out of this door here on the exterior. That's where we're more likely to find the paint. So this is a white painted surface on the outside here, and the instructions call for folding this on this edge to make it like a little tray and folding it here. And then if we're going to take our sample here, they recommend that you pull that up there. Now what I have found is because the adhesive sometimes doesn't hold well, it's easier for me to take a little bit of my trusty blue tape and use that to hold the sample up with as well. Now the idea is I want to collect all this inside that sample tray, so I'm going to take my sampling tube that I have cleaned already and I'm going to push it into the wood. I rotate it a little bit. I want to get down to all the layers of paint. Very carefully let that sample fall into my collection paper. That didn't get it all out, so I'm going to use my razor blade to collect the other portion of that. it's important that you collect just that amount of lead sample, as big as the opening is in the end of this tube, because the solution is calibrated for that. And once I have this collected in my tray, I'm going to carefully remove it. So I'll set this on the table and I'll take my razor blade and I'm going to collect all my paint sample here. And I'm going to chop it up a little bit with the blade. So now I've collected my sample. I'll take my bottle here, open the bottle, and I'll carefully deposit all of the sample in the bottle. So I have that all in the bottle. Now I'm going to shake this up for 10 seconds. Once it's shaken, I'm going to take the lid off carefully and put 5 drops of the solution in. Once the solution is added to the bottle, I'll reset the lid and shake it for 10 more seconds. Now we'll let it set. Once we've added the 5 drops of solution 2 to the bottle and shaken it for 10 seconds, if we find that the liquid in here is as dark as the test sample, then that means that it contains lead at or above the threshold required for EPA or RP standards. If it's not darker than that color, then we wait for 10 minutes and we shake again. So let's let this wait for 10 minutes since it's not darker right now. Since we are doing a test here, while we're waiting for the D-lead to set for the 10 minutes, let's try the other lead swab that's available, lead check. This is the one that has the glass sleeve with some liquid and some powder in it and a cardboard cover. This one we take and we break it, and we break it, and we mix it up. Now, in the place where I took my lead sample, right here, let's put the lead check on it and see what happens. Now I tried lead check on that same spot where we took the sample for our D-lead test, and I broke it and I rubbed it into the cut here where I exposed all the wood, all the paint down to bare wood, and I really haven't gotten a red or pink color. So this would tell me that there's no lead in it as well. It's got a little bit of a yellow color, but that's the color of the liquid, the solution as it comes out. Let's go back now and check on our D-lead test. Now, picking up our D-lead sample test, we can see that it hasn't changed colors. The instructions say to shake it for another 10 seconds. And in this case you can see that the solution with the lead test paint in it is lighter than the sample color, which would tell me that this is below the threshold for EPA RRP. That being said, what I would do would be to take a picture of this and my sample place with a placard that would tell me the date and the location where I took this test. I would enter this into my records, sample the other locations in the project, keep those in the records, and if it all is below the EPA RRP threshold, I'm free to go ahead and do my work. Notice the dot here. Actually the solution is getting a bit of a red color to it. Over time, the lead check test swab is showing there's presence of lead. The thing about it is that when we compare that with the D-lead test, which showed it didn't crossed the threshold. We have no way of knowing clearly whether we crossed the threshold here. In this case, the D-lead would allow us to not have to follow EPA RRP reporting guidelines. See these side-by-side samples taken on some molding around the outside at a front door area. On the right here is the lead check swab. It certainly has turned red, showing the presence of lead paint here, and on the left you'll see the D-lead, and it looks to me like this is indicating that there's a presence of lead paint there, passing the threshold required by EPA. In this case, both of these work sufficiently. In the previous test, I feel like the lead check indicated there might have been lead paint there, but D-lead indicated it didn't cross the threshold. So you have to decide.